lesson at Chess and Psychology. Glad to have you here with us. I will be monitoring the chat closely right here through my phone. And today I asked Ben Simon if we could combine the classes of Chess and Psychology and the Insane Endgame. I always get those two mixed up. So I could show you more in depth about an endgame that I struggled with. So first of all, I'm gonna continue looking through and talking about Caro-Kann for today. So last week we had more Caro-Kann, and the week before that we had some French, and it's a nice combination of those. So I'm gonna continue talking about French, Caro-Kann, Pierre, Philidor, those of them throughout the next few weeks of Chess and Psychology, and hopefully we will manage to learn the openings and the concepts behind it and get a nice idea of what to look for in these openings. So without further ado, so this is a nice game that I had in Zurich, Zurich Christmas Open 2016. The rating of my opponent is slightly wrong, about 100 points less, but this was a very nice game and I really enjoyed my time in Zurich. Switzerland is one of my most favorite countries. I played their Bundesliga and our team won, and yeah, at some point I was actually considering living there and switching my federation to there, so there's that. And so yeah, this game is a Caro-Kann game. And I played with, from what I remember, my opponent was, I think, around 50 years old, more or less. And he was a very nice player and very respectful and very gentleman and everything. And so I remember that I don't remember having done much preparation for this game because it's been years, but from my memory, I couldn't find him, or there was little time to prepare. So I like that he played Caro-Kann because I feel confident on this line with knight h3, even though it doesn't have that much theory to it, and also it's not that tactical or that scary. It's very nice to be able to play something like that because you know what you're doing, and if your opponent doesn't know what he's doing and goes a little off tracks, things can get real pleasant for you real fast, and that's something that happened in this game. So I'm gonna look over chat and see if I have. Ooh, sorry, I had my. Okay, so I was wondering if kind of anyone had any feelings, negative or positive, against this knight h3, knight f4 in Caro-Kann. So hopefully as soon as I get some feedback, I can show you a little bit more. Alright. Oh wow, you guys are up and about in different countries. Thank you. Yeah, there are some sacrifices on e6. There are some lines bishop c4 that you do that kind of sacrifices, but kind of the main idea, like one of the main ideas, is that you kind of, oops, wrong one. You want to start pushing over here and kind of trap this guy. So one of the annoying things to do for white is this e5, either here or after knight d7, because the idea is if you take, there's this check, and then after take, the bishop is kind of freed up. So I liked that. And okay, so there's so many different lines. There's knight d7, there's knight f6, but e6 is one of the most common ones, and it's the one that kind of makes sense to everybody because you play e6 because you want to bring your bishop out pretty early on. You're not rushing into bringing knights out or anything, but I feel like you either want to play e5, so you set up for that, or if you want to play e6, it doesn't really matter how you do it. Feel free to correct me if you have any other suggestions. Okay, so I remember that I really like this c3. I looked at it a while ago, and this c3 is, yeah, that's something that, fragrance, yeah, that's something that I've considered, like this c3, queen c7, but there this queen f3 and stuff. It's very doable, and I still have my idea. I do remember that there is a deeper line that, for example, imagine I start pushing, and there is this h6. There is a line like this that keeps going and going, and that's quite. I mean, I like it. It seems pleasant for me. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like chess stuff. I try to match my chess feelings. Right? During these difficult times, the best I can do is at least dress up. Ay. Alright. So, yeah, well, the comment about knight f3, well, knight f3 is the most common and then the main line, and it has way more theory to it and way more in depth. Knight h3 is a little bit tricky, and I like playing that. I guess it's just a matter of preference. Alright, so I got to play my h4, and here my opponent realized that, well, whoops, this h5 is coming up, and he can't really play h6 because of this one, and he kind of decided to just take on f4, because if not, well, what else can you do? Let's say you just play a little, and this is not exactly how you would want your Caro-Kann to turn out. So he decided to take on f4 and just play solid h6. So if h5 now, bishop can just go back to h7. So here I'm pretty out of theory. I didn't really have much knowledge in what to do after bishop takes f4 because, well, it's a comfortable position, so I didn't feel the need to analyze it that deep. Maybe I should have, but it just felt like a comfortable position. So my first question for you 71 viewers, well, how do you want to proceed? Like, as white, where do you want your pieces to be? Where do you want your king to be? Just, I don't really need like a big line, just where do you want your pieces to be? Let's see what you guys think. Are you gonna do short castle, long castle? It's a little quiet. Ah, alright. Good. Thank you, Sporterman. Yeah, queen b3. So, okay. Nixon, you want to play in the center? Alright, so we all have similar ideas. You want to keep your stuff happening in the queen side and center. And yeah, so queen b3. Queen b3, what do you think black should do? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Fairgrounds, yeah, well, you could play like c4, queen e2, but I kind of like this queen b3. It keeps the tempo open. And, well, my opponent played queen b6. Thank you. I answered T. And yeah, so my opponent after queen b6, what do you think I should do as white? Do you guys want to exchange queens, maybe? Do you want to keep the queen? If you want to keep the queen, where do you want to place it? Alright, so don't exchange, agree on that. Bishop d6, not my most favorite one. Oh, Fragrance, you're right. It does look awkward, but it's kind of the best move because after queen a3, you have these ideas to bring your bishop to better diagonal. You want to do long castle. You might even have ideas to start opening up the center. So it's a very pleasant position. Yeah. Let's say knight d7. I kind of wanted to play this h5 just so that I would push this bishop further a little bit more. I don't feel like it's necessary, but it seemed very pleasant. And now I was like, well, should I play long castle or is my king safe over here? So what do you guys want to do? Long castle, short castle, just rook d1. I don't like this delay. I feel like I'm sitting quiet for like seconds waiting for delay, but well, we do what we do with the onlines. Okay, so you guys want to play long, okay, mainly you want long castle, but bishop e2 and see what black's doing. I mean, that's kind of my style, but I feel like, okay, so you could try to play something like rook d1 first and wait and see what is your opponent going to do, because okay, so the way I think about it, black can't play short castle, right? So that's never going to happen. So if I were to play a long castle and you were to play a long castle, I mean, the white's position is still better, but I can't really start like a pawn march on you because my own king is here. So that's why it might be a better idea to play like rook d1 first, and after long castle, just try to do short castle. It seems a little weird, I agree, but do you think this idea works? Is there anything that black can do to make trouble for white? Delay for Peter Peterson. I mean, I saw it a little while ago, but okay, yeah, long castle, because I don't think long castle had any problems because of the bishop on h7. It was more like if I did long castle and you did long castle, then how would I attack you? It was more like that. So, what are we thinking? Alright, so you guys do like this bishop e2 and short castle idea. And if your answer is no, well, whatever your answer is, if you say no, then what do you think white should have done? If you say yes, then what do you think was black's best move? Oh my god, you want to sacrifice queen? Well, that would be very nice. Okay, so you guys are thinking about something like e5. I agree. So, do you think e5? Okay, so let's start thinking about e5. Do you think it's a good move? If yes, can someone give me a line? Like, if e5, are you going to take it with pawn, with bishop? What are you going to do? Yeah, I think you guys have the correct idea. So what you can do is, yeah, so bishop e3 is good. Will you give chat 3 good choices like ABC? I'd like to do that, but I'm not sure how that would work. So, it does look a little shaky for white, but you can easily take it. And after something like knight d5, what would you do? Because you don't have bishop e3 anymore. But what do you think is white's best move? The problem with earlier bishop e3 would be same. Hold on. The problem with earlier bishop e3 would have been probably same knight d5. And what are you going to do with your bishop? You kind of want that bishop to stay and be part of this attack. So after take, knight d5, what are your candidate moves? Oh, well, yeah, that's a good idea. John Santos, you can, I mean, I would really appreciate it if you guys give me candidate moves or full lines. That would be really great. So, like, if you're considering, what are the moves that you're considering in this position? Just rook takes d5, or you want to play bishop d2, or some stuff like that. Yeah, I think this was also a good move. Rook takes d5. I didn't play it in the game. I wish I have. It would have made a beautiful position. But taking the this would have been actually a very nice sacrifice, because I think it's from what I remember, it was like clear advantage for white, because now white has super attack. But the way I went about it, I just played my bishop d2, and I am going to continue pushing over here. Short castle coming. And yeah, it just it seemed to be very pleasant. I'm getting another suggestion about rook takes d5. Well, bishop e3 is nice, but I feel like it's more important to do short castle first, to try and bring your pieces, and bishop e3 is not going anywhere, so you shouldn't be in a rush to replace your bishop. Also, your bishop is super strong over here, so yeah. Alright, so bishop d2, knight takes e5. What do you want to do? Alright, so I have a short castle. I have a c4. Let's see. Alright, so I like the idea c4 more, just because it would clear the road and it would move the knight a little away. So now castle. So now the question is, who do you think is better? And if you say white or black, just try and give me a move. It is black's move in this position. So what do you think? Who do you think is better, and what would you do? Yeah, I saw I'm looking at chat. Knight d3 is a little, could be problematic, but I already took care of it with c4. So yeah, I agree. White's better. You have two bishops, and you're gonna go attack the king. Well, it is white to move. Sorry, it is black to move. So c5 is coming up, but okay, so let's say queen a6. What do you want to do now? Do you want to exchange the queens and have that better pawn structure? Yeah, queen c3. You guys are good. Queen c3, very nice move. And you are still plotting the c5. And look, you might be trying to trap the queen. So after queen c3, let's say rook e8. So if c5 now, queen can still move around a little bit. What would you do after rook e8? So one of the big things in that most players struggle with, I still am working on it, is that you see the position, you know you have advantage, but what should you do with disadvantage? And that's one of the big problems that most chess players have. That's converting the advantage and like finding the moves in position that you know you're better. So that's something that I would recommend you guys working on as well. So for example, in this position as white, you know you have advantage, but how can you actually win this game? So yeah, try and suggest few moves, candidate moves ideally, and we'll go from there. So I have a lot of b4 suggestions. b3 is nice. You're being a little sneaky with c5. Nice. a4, I like it. I like bishop f4 most, just because, well, it's putting, this bishop really does belong in this diagonal. So when you're putting that bishop on f4 and just pushing for that diagonal, it's it feels like a really nice positional move. You might not know if you want to start with b4, a4, or c5, but you do know that bishop on d2 belongs on f4. So you might as well do that first and then decide on which pawn to push. And let's say knight d7. Now what do you want to do? So now your bishop is where you want it to be, and it's about time to start pushing pawns. Which pawns do you want to start pushing? Thank you everyone for participating and suggesting moves. I'm just getting way too much chat, which is great, so I can't address every single one of you, but thank you for participating. I love it when the class is interactive. So yeah. Just keep being interactive. It will be great. Okay, so I'm getting pretty much everyone saying b4. I have few c5s on our stuff, but yeah, good. I really like this b4 too. So after b4, your idea is pretty clear, right? You're gonna go for b5 and attack these guys. And so, what do you think? Oh, Brian, rook b1. I'm not ready to start sacrificing stuff, so I kind of want to keep my material and my attack. So yeah, what do you think after b5? So those of you who were thinking about b5 and those of you who weren't, what do you think black should do after b4? Well, like taking on a2, I don't really think that's an accurate move to play queen takes a2. First of all, what do you do after something like rook d2? Like, okay, so what if you take over here? Rook d2, where do you want to go? Anywhere you go, rook a1 is coming, and it's a little bye-bye queen. But yeah, so I think Deron suggesting queen a4. I think he was the first one to suggest it. But yeah, you're right. Queen a4 is the last try. Now what? Again, you see your position is super good, and you just shouldn't rush pushing pawns, and you should keep preparing for it. And so, what do you want to do? Do you want to start pushing pawns? Is it time to start pushing pawns, or do you want to bring more rooks or the bishop? Or so, what do you want to do? Bishop f3. I do like the move bishop f3. It's not a move I played in the game, but I really like it. Also, a little tip. Oh, I saw. Joanne, you're right. I was just about to give the tip. So the ones who were thinking about delay, that's the delay. So you see how horribly this queen is placed here? If you could maybe, attack it a little, then the queen would be very uncomfortable and almost gonzo, right? So rook d2, This is the idea. Black is in a bad shape, you are right. So let's say black tries to do a little bit more of defense and like knight e4. So what do you do now? And ideally give me like a 3-move line or something, because the game is gonna be over in 4 or 5 moves, so it would be very nice if I could get a full line out of you guys. Oh, that's a very good description, Abdul Aziz. Yeah, you're right. That's very nice advice. So, let's take the knight first. And what now? Do you want to start attacking the queen, or do you want to, you know, try and keep more pieces around? Yeah. So, okay, bishop d1 is a good move, but you don't want to rush it. So you kind of want to keep the dark squared bishop. Brian, you are right. So maybe let's keep the bishop a little bit and then go for bishop d1, because the queen can't really, you know, run away. So I don't think you are in a rush to try and sacrifice stuff. Just try and keep as many as pieces as you can. But I do believe bishop d1, whoops, bishop d1 is winning enough. So if you were thinking about bishop d1, and don't be discouraged by bishop e3. Bishop e3 is just a little bit more annoying and a little bit more precise. And my opponent just did something to, he didn't know what to do. And I think b5 is very nice here, but I just decided to take more pawns, and he just resigned because this is like extremely uncomfortable. Whoops. Bishop g4 coming. Everything is pretty much falling, and yeah. So that's the first game that I had for you guys about Caro-Kann, and I'm gonna switch to another game. Is the knight the only piece holding black's position together? Well, I mean, the position is super lost, kind of, anyways. So I don't think black's position is holding on. It's just a matter of few moves. If no questions, we can go to the next game. I'll wait to see if I have any questions. But yeah, so while I'm waiting, you see, this was a very clean win. Not just because of the opening, but because I actually knew what I was doing. I had the idea that even if my pawn is on h5, I can make short castle. And I knew the concepts of why I need this bishop to be on f4. I understood that not to rush pushing pawns. And I worked very carefully to try and trap the queen. And even though I didn't get the queen by the time he resigned, I was very comfortable with my position, and my rooks and everything was super active. I am drinking black tea. I really, really like black tea. preferably Earl Grey, but I actually like this brand Greenfield. It's really nice. I'm a big fan of it. It's not that though, but I like it. So, Brian, you're still considering that Rook B1 somewhere. Where was it? Somewhere around here? You were thinking about Rook B1, maybe? Okay, so Rook B1 might be okay. I don't think that it's like a horrible move that you're gonna lose, but it's not the cleanest way to win. And if there is a way, a cleaner way, and if there is a more precise way to play, I would advise you to take that route rather than sacrificing, because sacrificing, you're automatically giving your opponent a little bit more to hope for, basically, or to try and pull something off, and it would just the same way when you have more material, you feel like a little upper hand. It's the same thing. What time is in St. Louis? 7:15-ish p.m. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next game. There we go. Okay, so this was a game against a grandmaster from India, Swapnil, and he was very strong, and I played with him in 2014 Dubai Open. I won that game. That was a very good game. I think I got my second WIM in that tournament, but it's been years. And I got like 5 or 6 WIM norms. By the time I was submitting them, there were just like so many norms. So, anyways, but this was in Sitges tournament in 2016. So, fun fact, I lived in Spain in 2016 to 2017, from like July to July, before I moved to St. Louis. And I moved there to play more tournaments and just to get used to moving away from family, where my family could still come and visit, because it's kind of hard for Iranian to get visa to US, but to Europe it was much easier, and they already had. And so yeah, it was a big story. So while I was living that year alone, that was the year that I did my SAT, and I officially got my titles, WGM and IM, and my FIDE trainer one. So that was a nice year for me. 2015-16 were my most favorite chess years. He is writing a book for Petrov. Wow, great, good to know. Yeah, he's a very strong chess player. Yeah, all right. So this was another Caro-Kann. I actually, sorry Ben, I actually enjoyed playing this a lot, but I got into a bit of trouble going from middle game to end game, as you guys will see, and I managed to pull a draw out of the opening. So I'm hopefully gonna be able to show you. Yeah, we're working on the names. Thank you. Alright, so far everything's similar to the last one, right? He also played the same idea, and I did slightly earlier h5 in this game. I again did the queen b3, and this time instead of queen b6, that I would get queen a3, and it would be very similar to the last game that we saw. The grandmaster played knight d5. So my first question for you guys is, what do you think you should do? Where do you want the, it's not that, well, for this move it's not that hard, but just like a brief idea. Long castle, short castle, just something like that. Lefu, you struggle to play against knight f6 lines, or where? In Caro-Kann with knight h3? Okay, so you guys want to take b7. Let's see. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of bishop d2s, some bishop c1s, and a lot of short castle ideas. Yeah, okay. So most of us agree on bishop d2, so that's good. And so what we wanted to think about was, okay, so let's say queen c7. What do you do now? Oh, there was a question about queen b7. So if right now you play queen b7, what I was worried about during the game was if you take and you play something like queen c7, my queen is going to be a little trapped. I just can't get it out, and that's a problem. If you see a way to get the queen out, let me know, because I didn't. Otherwise, I would have taken the free pawn. So, let's say bishop d2, queen c7. Now, as white, what do you guys want to do? Okay, so I'm getting some nice ideas on bishop a6. Alright, we'll go back to that. So yes, I like the idea of c4. Long castle is too shaky to play, and c4 is more convenient, honestly. Okay, sorry, I might have jumped on this a little too fast. So we said take queen c7. You guys are suggesting something like bishop a6. What if bishop a6? Are there any checks around here? Knight d3. Not the biggest fan of knight d3. What about bishop d3? Queen b7. Oh. Hold on. What about first queen b6? So you don't have bishop a6 anymore. Yeah, so that was I was a little inaccurate. Sorry for that. Queen b6 should solve this problem of bishop a6, because if you play bishop a6 now, first of all, I have bishop d3. Second of all, queen b2s are very promising, even maybe giving a check. Yeah, queen b3. Queen b6 is the accurate one. Okay, thank you for clarifying that, my eagle-eyed audience. Okay, so, Akrash. Oh, are you the Akrash from wait, I forgot the username. But are you the Akrash that played me on Twitch channel the other day? You've been a very good audience. You're present every time. Great. So, are we still thinking about this queen b6, or are we moving on? I'm just waiting to get the move on sign. Yeah, honestly, queen b6 is not that hard to find. Queen c7 seemed a little bit more safe, but queen b6 is better. Just so one way that you could think about between queen c7 or queen b6, even if you don't see bishop a6 immediately, is that, well, you shouldn't, ideally, it's good idea to have your pieces protecting each other, so don't leave them hanging. So queen on b6 is more stable than queen on c7, and that's why it gives you a chance to play bishop d3. Because if you were to play queen c7, bishop a6, bishop d3, the queen can run away, and your queen is under attack, so you don't have time to take this, right? But if you played queen b6 and bishop a6, you do have bishop d3. Queen b7 doesn't work anymore because you just take this guy. Right? Yeah? Alright. Glad to clarify that up. Now, thank you for the moving on sign. Okay, so bishop d2, queen c7, c4, knight goes back to f6. Now what do you want to do? So we talked about if you want to play short castle, long castle, where you want to play. Oh, well, glad to know you are the same user, and very nice of you to follow us both on YouTube and the Twitch. Well, yeah, in the game that we played, I played against Akrash yesterday or the day before that. I've been here every day, man. I'm losing time. And so yeah, well, my position was pretty lost anyways, so that one move didn't make any difference, and I completely believe you. You played very well in that game. There's no need to explain. You were just being funny. But alright, back to this game. Oh yeah, okay, so bishop b4. I am a big fan of the move bishop b4 or queen a3. Those are the two moves that I really like, and I think I should have played, but I didn't. And I played bishop e2. So the way I think about it right now is, if I had played this bishop b4 or queen a3, either this guy or this guy, I would have prevented you from black from playing castle, right? So the way I think about it right now, these are the moves that I would do today in my chess immediately. Like, that would be my first choice, and then I would think about bishop e2. But back in the day, 4 years ago, well, actually that was December, not 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, I was still working on finding my style and figuring out the moves that I like, and I allowed my opponent too much room to breathe, and I allowed castle. I shouldn't have done that. I should have played something like queen a3 or bishop b4. I'm a bigger fan of queen a3, honestly, but both of them seem equally good to me. They just share the same purpose, and I might be able to get my bishop back to come to f4, but my queen on a3, that's good. So yeah, my recommendation is queen a3 to both me for 2016 Dorsa and to the 2020 audience. So yeah, okay, so bishop e2, castle, just normal developments, bringing the pieces out. So I have one more question for you. Now we've entered the middle game of the middle game portion of this game. So where do you think your pieces belong as white? Do you like your queen over there? Do you like your bishops? What about your knights? What about your rooks? So just give me a little bit of geometry and geography of where do you want your pieces to be. And well, Yuri, first of all, it's never too late. Second of all, yes, I don't think there's anything stopping you to gain. Well, actually, there's a little bit of problem stopping you because we don't have any tournaments happening right now. Sorry for that, a little dark joke. But you are fully capable of improving. I wouldn't say just the studying opening theories, but I do think that you could improve your, first of all, calculation. You need to be able to calculate. If you can't calculate, you keep blundering, it's going to be hard to improve your chess. So first, one of the big steps should be to be able to calculate and blunder minimum. And another thing I would advise is know what you're doing in opening. You don't need to know every single move, but you should know what is the idea behind what you're playing. Find comfortable setups, and that's what I've actually been trying to do in this class, to introduce comfortable setup so far for white, and few games I've shown for black. Something against in Nimzo in the end for black, and something in Lopez for black. I've shown those, and those are comfortable. You can try to look at the other chess and psychology classes that we've had, so you can get a good idea. And hopefully a few more months of here chess and psychology, and I'll have a somewhat of a full repertoire of just ideas, but you gotta work more on itself. Alright, so back to this game. I have good ideas on rook, to have rook a to c1 and rook f to d1. And what do you want to do with the bishop? You want to put it on e3, c3. Yeah, okay, so rook c1 is what I went about. a5. I actually, do you think I didn't play f4, but f4 was a move that I really thought about, and maybe I would have played something like that as well if it was today. So what do you think you would do? Would you play f4, or would you move the f rook somewhere else? And if you won't play f4, why? Why do you think you won't play it? What's the best move for black? I had a question about how calculate how many moves. It really depends on the position, because it's easier to calculate in endgame when there are less pieces, but I would say try to do 2-3 moves ahead. 2 moves ahead should be good enough so you don't blunder stuff. 3 moves ahead would be good, that you would be a step above your opponent. But it really depends on the position. If it's positional and or if it's all take. So something about endgame knowledge. Well, endgame knowledge is great, but it's really hard to actually understand every single theoretical endgame. So try to do practical endgames and understand the practical side of endgames. So in endgames, depending on know what to look for in pawn endgames, and try to know those. Have a good idea of rook endgames a little bit, what to look for in the knight. One thing that I was told to look for in an endgame with knights is to be cautious of, for example, if my opponent has a knight, to be careful not to put my king and other piece in a 4-king situation. So that was a good idea. Another thing that I had was, for example, in knight endgames, it's a good idea to think ahead, where you want your knights to be, and then find a way to get there. So if you want your knights to be in this part of the board and your knights is the other part of the board, just figure out where you want it to be and then move it. Okay, so we have ideas on f4, but f4, so my problem with f4 was knight e4. And if you take, your bishop got too activated, and I don't really know what to do with my bishop. So that was my problem. Thank you, Abdulaziz, for giving a line, and for all of you who are participating in this. Yeah, I wasn't comfortable playing f4. So yeah, exactly, because e4 makes e4 too weak. Thank you, 1, 2, 3, 4, bunch of 4s. Alright, so I played rook e1 just because I honestly didn't know what to do with my pieces. I didn't know if I want rook e1 or d1. I didn't know if I want bishop f3, bishop c3, and it was very confusing for me. So after this game, I went and I looked and I learned where I want my pieces to be. So that was a good idea. After rook e8, I played bishop d3. I think rook d1 was doable, something like queen f3 was doable. And my problem with queen f3 was e5, and I just really didn't want to deal with this opening of center and the knights just attacking and everything. So what I did was bishop d3, and after exchanging the bishops off, I went and I exchanged a little bit more pieces off. But there was a rook c3 here, which was interesting because I'm sure you guys heard me talk about rook on the third rank all the time, but rook on the third rank is actually interesting in this specific situation because let's say you get few moves to do whatever you want. You can move the queen away and try to play rook e3. You can try to relocate the knight. You just have more ideas on what to do, what not to do. Anyways, I went and I played rook knight e4, take, knight f6. So, question, what do you want to do with your queen? Okay, so I'm getting a queen h4 idea. I'm having a queen e5, so it's pretty much between these two. So we're getting a, let's do what? Queen e5, more queen e5. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of queen e5s, some queen d3, queen f3, no, because of queen d4. Okay, so Akarsh's problem with queen e5 is that it would go to the dark, the pawn would become to dark square, and you're right. Queen h4 should be better. I played queen e5 in the game because, to be completely honest, I was a little intimidated by my opponent because he was higher rated than a grandmaster and all those, and I wanted to exchange it off. But queen h4 is what the position needed, and if it was me today, I would play queen h4. Let's say rook d8. You take that pawn, and this is a very comfortable position to play. Or you also have this idea with bishop h6, queen d4, and just bishop here, and then you push the pawn. It's a very comfortable. It's more comfortable than what happened in the game. So after queen e5, what do you think black's best move is? To take on e5 or play something like rook d8? Okay, so you guys want rook d8. Yeah, I agree. Rook d8. Now, do you see any tactics for white, maybe? Anything to take? Anything interesting? Or you just want to play queen d6? Okay, so I'm getting some bishop h6s. Great. Black is equalizing, and yeah, that was my mistake. The fact that I gave black enough chances with queen e5 to equalize and double up on the d file, that was my mistake. So bishop h6, queen d4. Do you want to take on d4, or do you want to play queen somewhere else? So the options are queen d4, and I think the other one would be probably queen g5, because something like, if you don't do that, your bishop on h6 is falling. So if it's black to move, there's queen e5, rook e5, and you take the bishop. I think queen g3, the problem with queen coming to g3 is this knight h5 possibly, and it's kind of hard to figure out what you want to do with your pieces. So queen g5 is another possibility to consider. So queen g5, black actually has a good move. That would be quite scary for me. So what do you want to do? I'm not seeing it in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of knight e4s. Oh, I see it. Good job, Scott. So queen g4 is what my opponent did in the game, but bishop g4 is the good one. So bishop g4 is what should have happened.
Can you move your mic to the center?
Sure.
Scratchy.
Having mic problems. Better?
Yes.
Great. So yeah, maybe think about knight g4 for a second, and let me know if you like that. You prefer queen g4? Yeah, what do you want? So wait. Knight, queen f2, anyways, knight g4 is the best move for black, mainly because the problem is, well, what do you want to do with your pieces? Knight h6 is coming up, and queen f2 is coming up, and it's kind of rough. So I actually don't really know what I would have done after knight g4. I'm assuming probably something. I can't even play. Hold on, what actually can I do? God, this is very unpleasant. I Bishop g7 doesn't work. Nothing like rook e4 works due to queen d1. Maybe rook d1. We take over here, king h1. You can't take because of knight g7. Maybe rook d1 is what's good. Yeah, rook d1 seems to be the only one. Rook c d1. So no checks, you can't take because I take this guy. Hi. So rook e4 problem was queen d1 check. Yeah, I think rook c d1 kind of holds everything together, but black is still better. So I wouldn't recommend that. Because least of all, there's queen f6. Least of all. So like take king h1, queen f6. Yeah. I think this is why black would be better. Oh no, you shouldn't resign. You still have moves to find. Yeah, Scott, you're right. Okay. So back to the game with queen g4. After queen g4, I kind of have to exchange it off anyways. And now my bishop is under attack. So let's try to save this guy. And now, what would you do as white? So now we've entered the endgame portion of our game and the endgame portion of our class. Well, black isn't a pawn up in this position. If queen f2, queen f6, then yes, black would have been a pawn up. Okay, so I have some nice f3s, some bishop h4s, some rook e4s. Well, f3 is the one I played, and f3 is nice, but it had some issues because f3, take, and you see the problem is rook d2. What do? You don't. Okay, so practical aspects of endgame. You don't want your opponent to have rooks on the second rank, right? You want to have rooks on the second rank. So that was a big problem. And my endgame started to get a little, what's the right word? Shaky? Yeah. So, yeah. What do you think you should do? You're gonna take that pawn, or you're gonna try and keep some stuff? Ah, iffy, yeah. Okay, so I did take in the game. Okay, so let's look at this other move. I thought King F7. So I remember in the game I thought King F7 was the more accurate. Like the first move that I was thinking what was King F7. But then I was thinking, okay, so I have King F7, I have Rook E5, and my other rook is coming to give you a bunch of checks, and I can double up, and life is good. Let's say Rook E8, I have this, and this is good. I have so much pressure on your pawns, and I actually would have a slight advantage. And I thought if like King F6, now I double up again, and I bring the king, and life's good. I get my king to the center right in time, and yeah, so that's what I thought in the game, but I forgot to consider Rook D2 more seriously because I was like, whoa, who would give up pawns? But in endgames, if giving up pawns means gaining more spatial and activity advantage, then yeah, that's what you should consider. So after take Rook F8, this guy is coming up. What would you do as white? And to be fair, white already is in a little bit of trouble. So yeah, they would give up pawns. Whoa. Did I click on? Oh, sorry, I clicked on something by accident. We were right after Rook F8. I apologize. Mouse slip. Okay, so I'm getting ideas of Rook F1, and pretty much everybody's saying Rook F1. I thought about Rook F1, but I thought this is kind of really, really bad to play, because I do think this was the way I should have went about it. Because now, let's say if you take over here, I can take over here, and this is still doable. And the good news is your king is kind of stuck over here. And yeah, I think that's the way I should have went about it. But I was a little afraid, and I just wanted to take some material and see how it goes. So don't do that in your games. If you see a better defense, do that. To be fair, I do remember that I was in time trouble as well. So, okay, let's say I played, this is the way I went about the game, and this position is better for my opponent, and it was very very annoying for me, and I just tried to survive by. So you see this nasty Rook H1, whoops, Rook H1 mate is coming, so I had to play King G1. He gave a check, took a bunch of pawns, and then he decided to try for this, which he rightfully did. And the problem is, besides this King G1, King H1, I don't really have anything to do. So white rook to G6, connect G and H pawns after. Yeah, that was my idea, to try and take G5 and see, like, pull something off of there. Anyways, so this is the critical position. My opponent chose the wrong move, which gave me opportunity to save this game a little bit. And so what do you think black should do? Rook to g3, that was nice. But yeah, okay, so right now, what do you want to do? Okay, Yuri, alright, a4 is the best move that wins the simplest way, because a4, a3, a2, I just can't stop it, and that's lost. Rook h6, I didn't win the game is in a draw. Rook h6 is what my opponent played, and which is not the most accurate one. a4 simply, I just can't stop it. This is lost. But after rook h6, I actually got a little bit of chance to breed. Now I have some ideas to try and maybe exchange the rooks off a little and try and save the rook endgame. And he just tried to double it up the other way. Now, what would you do as white? Keep in mind, rook h1 is coming up. You don't want to lose more pieces. Wait, why are you guys saying rook a1? Am I a little behind in the line? Because rook a1, rook h1, and rook falls. No? Rook c3, still the same problem. Rook c3. So if you were to play rook c3, what would you do after check? Check maybe. A little bit more check. Oh, no c5, so that's good. Because if there was c5, then you had to take with the king, and whoops, you give up the rook. Rook c3 is possible, but there is something more accurate. Rook f1 is the easiest way. And so rook f1, rook h1, king up. So if you were to take, and b6, this is again advantage for black. It's harder to win compared to that a4 line, but it's winnable. However, giving check, and then check, and then again another check. Whoops, I am sorry, I don't know why. Oh, I keep now slipping over here. Sorry. And so after, eventually he took on the rook, and after I took the other rook, now let's think about this endgame. So what do you guys think? Is this endgame winning? Is this lost? Okay, so, well, black has more chances to win, but black has advantage, but it's not enough to win. Well, I mean, we both played a little inaccurate, and yeah, okay, so, glad to know everybody loves endgames so much. Okay, so, let's say rook a1 would have been slightly more accurate, because let's say rook e5 and you get to push faster, but then it would give me the chance to like lock those up. So I think that's why he didn't like the idea of getting that c5 to lock the beef. He didn't like the idea of this c5 and locking these guys up, and I think that's why he played rook c1, going for c4, Rook f4, I think is the same idea. But if rook f4, I would have had c5 again. Or maybe just taking and taking on g4. Now I have c5 and that is a draw. Fun fact, I actually won something like this with black. Ooh, I wish I had that ready to show. But, thank you. But, I don't. That's, yeah, I'll include that in the another series, because that was a nice endgame. But, okay, to be fair, the endgame theoretically is draw, and my opponent played quite inaccurate. Hi, everybody. Hi, Tojo-shin. Wow, great. Okay, so let's say rook c1. Rook takes a5, rook takes c4. Okay, so I'm gonna test your knowledge of rook endgames a little bit. What do you guys think is the theoretical result behind this? Is this winning for black? Is this can white save this a little bit? Yeah, you want to have a B pawn only? Okay. So, Akash, I do have a queen endgame, but I don't think it would be able to cover all of it. I will dedicate the next one to only queen versus rook endgames, because I did actually lose a game like that with when I had the rook. So, the answer to Akash, I do have a queen endgame ready, but I don't like if I'm showing the endgame that you asked me. I kind of want to cover more of it, just instead of just the third rank. So I am working on it though. Okay, so you gotta bring the king, activate that guy, keep activating it. So far everything is logical, right? The other thing is you kind of want to have this rook, kind of behind. So it's better to go the other way with a check, ideally. So let's say if king f6, now you get to play rook g8. But my opponent was smart enough and he played king f7. I tried my best to try and get my rook there a little. And I tried to give a little bit more checks. So now I do have this rook f8, but if I play, let's say, rook f8, I give you the chance to bring your king very easily. So I wanted to avoid that and have that king cut. Another good example to try and do as practical in endgame, especially with rooks, is to cut the king. Always try your best to cut the king. I actually do have an example to show for an endgame that I forgot to cut the king, and things got really messy real fast. So, but in this game I remembered and I cut the king. Let's say king h5. And so what do you guys think rook d5 is? Do you think rook d5 is good going to that pawn endgame? Do you think king h5 is a wrong idea? Yes, James, cut the king off. Good. So one of the most important things to know in endgames is you gotta know your pawn endgames, because when you know your pawn, because most endgames have the chance to just exchange everything off and get to the pawn endgame. So if you know your pawn endgames, you have the ability to calculate and be like, okay, so if that pawn endgame is losing, I don't want to get to that pawn endgame, so I wouldn't play something like king h5. So and a good reference that I did on pawn endgames was the last sometime in January. when Tata still was happening, I think I did a game, I analyzed the game Firuzja versus Giri, and that was a very beautiful end game. So hopefully you guys can go and look that up. It's in the same channel, same YouTube, and it should be very easy to look up. That was a very beautifully done end game, and he won. Anish Giri, Firuzja beat Anish Giri mainly because he knew what he was doing in endgame, and that he was very comfortable knowing his pawn in games and everything. Okay, so rook d5, I kind of have to take, and after take, I can't survive this with white because of king h6, according to what I checked, because my pawn gets to be a queen with check, and it's survivable because you if you play something like king d6, blunder, I come over here. If you play something like king f6, I again have check, and I can go after this guy. What else? If you play king e7, same idea. If you play king e5, again, same idea. If you play king f5, I have queen f7. So pretty much I'm going after this pawn, and this seems to be doable. Or perpetual, like, because I see that I'm going to make a queen with check, I can assume that there are more possibilities. If I made a queen without check, alright, so now it's a little sketchy. Yeah, I wish I could ask Aeschbach. Okay, so rook d5 doesn't work, and my opponent correctly saw it. And so rook d1. After rook d1, what I could do, thank you, very thoughtful, Tracy, was to try, oh, I don't want to give this move up. Okay, I have a question about the previous that we were analyzing. So after king h6, well, king f7, the problem is again king h6. And then I will make check again, and I also give you a check along the way. And if you play something like king f6, I have king h6, and I again will give you this check, and now I will queen before you, which I again pick up that pawn. Ugh. Push, push, and again bye-bye pawn. Does that answer the question? Oh no, we want king h6 because we want this king h6. This h6 is a good square. We want king h6 because king is close enough to help you push the pawn. And if you play king g6, you're kind of blocking your own pawn. So don't do that. Okay, everybody good on this endgame? Cool. Rook d1. So what do you want to do with white? Okay. So remember how we talk about cutting king and everything? Another great concept to be aware of is having your rook behind your pawn. So ideally, I would want this rook to be somewhere behind here to protect my pawn, right? So at this point, I have to decide between, am I going to keep cutting the king, or am I going to bring the rook away and push the pawn? And I can't really start pushing the pawn if my rook is on the way and it's going to be attacked by the king. So that's why I brought the rook back, b5, g5, and it's a nice pawn race. I do think that playing something like rook c2 would have also been interesting, because now king d5 and now I can start pushing. I got your king a little away from this scene. So let's see if there are going to be any differences between now g5 or g5 after rook c2. So rook g1, rook f6, king up, and a bunch of checks, and then you push and you get the pawn. Or if king goes to c3, you have rook g4. So keep this idea in mind, and we are going to use this in the real game, because my opponent didn't play rook g1. My opponent played rook h1 check first. So this position, we just looked at rook g1 line, but rook h1 is the line that my opponent played, and we will look at it again. So the problem with rook g1 was that ends rook g4. Remember, you give bunch of checks, you push the king to go away, and you bring your rook to cut the rook, or you get that pawn. Either one works to get the draw. So rook h1. Now let's say king g6. Now rook g1 is safe now, right? Because that rook can't really go to g4 anymore. Remember that position that we would push and we'll put the rook to g4? Basically this position. I don't have that chance anymore. So rook g1 is good. Well, there are a lot of little traps. The rook g4 was a little trap, and my opponent knew it, so he avoided it. Okay. I'm gonna push a little faster over here. So I give some check to free my king to start pushing. Pushed a little. g7. Now, this position theoretically is a draw, regardless of how my opponents will continue. But I would like to get some input on what you think you would do as black. Would you keep pushing pawns? Would you bring the king? Would you just take that pawn? Oh, these are interesting. I'm almost done. Come on, Akwash. Stay with us a little bit longer. Thank you, Akwash. And thank you, everyone who are writing. Just a lot of names. Can't really cover everything. Sorry. But I appreciate your comments. Okay, so let's look at rook g7. So my opponent in the game took rook g7, and I would like you guys to, even though I've told you that this game is a draw, maybe take a little bit and actually calculate it, because this is the final trick. So, fun fact, while you guys are thinking, I've talked about this 26,000 endgame studies that I've been doing, and so this position is actually one of them. I remembered in the game that I've seen this position somewhere, but I've never played it. So I was just like, where have I seen this? I knew this was a draw, but I just couldn't point out like exactly what are the moves. And I was so pissed at the game that I couldn't remember the moves of the puzzle. And this is the puzzle. So I'm going to look at king d4 first, because in the game he took rook g7. So we'll get to that right after. So king d4. The move to play is rook b2. The idea is that I want your king to come to c4 so it blocks your pawn on c6, so that this pawn can't really go as easy. And now the killer move is rook b1. If you take it, whoops, if you will, no, we don't want rook h1, we want this guy. There you go. If that happens, then I just have the queen, correct? There is a trick, you see? Rook d1, rook b1 was a trick. if you don't know rook b1, you can, of course you can think about it in the game, but this was a trick. If you don't know it, again, if you don't know it, you can logically figure it out. So you'd be like, okay, rook b2, I'm gonna play with your king a little, and then rook b1, but you have to think about rook b1. And let's say rook goes away a little bit. Now check, and you come to c3. And now this is a draw, because your rook is like the mad rook. And just to point out, if there was king c3, this is even easier. Rook b1, let's say you move wherever, and you get this guy. And now this is also a draw, because I'll just come take this guy, and you take that guy, and voila. So that's why king c4 is the move that was accurate. Rook b1, rook g3, and this is a draw. Even if rook c2, for example, I give the check again and come here, attack you. If you push, I come here and I just take this. This was the theoretical. Why not king b4? Because c6 pawn falls. So if you king b4, I just take over here and I give you check and I take this. Because, whoops, I'm take this. I am fighting for a draw, so taking that your last remaining pawns are good enough. Okay. Yeah, kind of mad rook, right? Okay. This is not what happened in the game, but this was this would have been really great. I could actually submit it to places to win something. I'm kidding. It's already a puzzle. Okay, so let's say rook g7 like my opponent did in the game. Rook g7 kind of made my life a little easier, because after take, c5, all I have to do is try and bring my king right in time and keep these pawns from becoming queens, which is, again, all I have to do. Super easy, right? Anyways, rook e8, good idea to put your rook behind the pawns. c4, rook b8. So the idea with rook b8 is that now if c3, your pawn is falling, so I'm stopping you a little from pushing so fast. So now that you move your king, I'm bringing my king. If, let's say, king c3, I have king e5, I'm bringing my king, and I take this, and I go over here. And if king b1, again rook b3. See? Very nice, little, like, just right on time, right? Okay, so if after king f6, we just looked at king c3, that I brought the king and I got to the pawns right in time. And if you push the pawn, what do you think you should do? Because it's pretty much the last question in this game. So, suggestions, comments? The endgame got pretty exciting, huh? You always think rook endgames are boring, and you end up with such high, nice examples of rook b1 and stuff like that, huh? Yes, you are right. You do have to give the check, because if you take first, the problem is the classic at the end, king c8. Fragrance, you're correct. Rook b4. The pawn is poisoned because of that end king c8. So it's good to know your endgames. And the thing is, if you don't know them, you can actually think about them and figure them out. But it's a good idea to have solved puzzle, so you know what to look for. So that's why rook b4 is better. And you come over here, I just take this, and we agreed on a draw. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We still have a bit of time, and I would like to give you some puzzles in endgames, hopefully like a little tactical, so we could go over those and you guys could enjoy trying to apply yourselves. So just give me 1 second to pull that up. Find it first. Alright, let me make sure. Oh, this is a nice one. Okay, let's look at this. It's white to move. What do you guys want to do? Oh yeah, so, okay, so, guys, full line. Is your first move e8 making knight? I see a lot of promote to knights, but give me full line. You do need your bishop f6. Bishop f6 is forced mate. Because if you were to play e8, well, queen, you get kind of mated over here. Just a little bit. Sometime soon. Yeah, there we go. And if you played knight, if you played knight check, king can go to it, can run away. But if you played this and you made knight, now it's mate. Yeah? Okay, so let me load the next one while you guys are still looking at this one. Oh, this is a good one. This one is black to move. Oh, for the last one, if you guys are still debating and you guys are not clear, the best move was bishop f6 first check. So I see I'm seeing okay, are they still confusions? I think I should go back to the last one. Oh no, okay, so you guys are answering yourself in the chat. Great. You're doing my work for me. Perfect. But yeah, so the answer to if bishop in the last one, sorry, you guys are still talking about it. This position is black to move. The last position, after bishop f6 and king, if king try to run away, you just take the rook, free rook. This one is black to move. So the little trick to know whose to move it is usually when I load the position, if there is the, look at this rank, if this is 8, then it's black to move. If this is white, then it's white to move. So if this rank is 8, it's black to move. If the rank that you see first down here is 1, then it's white to move. I don't know Russian alphabet, so I can't pronounce that. But you are kind of correct. That's one of the moves. But no, not yet. H3 is not the first move. So, can someone tell me what is wrong with H3 first? Be careful with rook h2 because of knight h2, and you don't really have the much more checks left. So h3 is a little slow because of knight g3, and the first move is not a check. You're right. This is a good one, right? It's getting you guys thinking. I'm still not seeing the move. This is so nice. I like it when I give puzzles and it takes you a good while. Means it's good puzzle, right? Nope, I'm still not seeing the move. Okay, so big tip, first move is not a pawn move, nor it's a check. That should eliminate a lot of the moves, right? So not a pawn move and not a check. Oh, I see it. Okay, so Peter Cross, rook e1, you have to play rook e1 first. Sorry guys, I have to give it up. It's I also had Dan Lidstorm say it, so, and Luan. Okay, yeah. So rook e1 is the right move. It's pretty cool, huh? If you make this queen, h3 wins. If you make the other queen, h3 again wins. So I'm gonna give you guys a second to ask me questions. Anyone? Questions, comments? Shocked faces? So I think the biggest thing is that it's kind of unorthodox to play stuff like that, but the problem is that in this position you can't, like, that's pretty much the cleanest way to try and push the pawns, because if you push now, this is the problem, and you don't want to start pushing because there are so many, you create so many holes. So that's why you play rook e1 to kind of keep this knight intact, so next you can play h3. That was actually, they played it in real game. I can only hope I would see this in a real game. But yeah, it's a nice trick, right? Alright, so give me a second while you guys still are discussing this, so I look up the next one. I want to find something cool again. Whoa, why so loud? Just hold on, give me one more second. Okay, this one is kind of cool. This one is white to move. It's not as cool as the other one, but still. What do you guys want to do? Oh yeah, we need to find this Igor Ivanov's games. You're right. I'm gonna get right on that. I think for this puzzle we have a winner. Luan was the first one. Yeah, good puzzle, huh? I'm gonna give it a few more seconds before I show it on the board. But yeah, Rook F5 is the best move. Whoa. Yeah, Rook F5. The idea is you kind of have to take it, and I give you another check and mate. Nice, huh? Kinda nice. Nowhere near the last one, right? Alright, give me another second to find a good one. I wish I had them in order. I was planning on doing another puzzles, but these are pretty cool too. Hopefully these will keep you guys happy. And ooh, we've done this before. This one was a good one. Nope, still have done that. Oh. Alright, found it. Okay. What do we think about this? And this was actually a game between Korchnoi and Karpov in 17-8. I'm trying to think, was there a world championship in 78?
Yeah, Korchnoi, Karpov, 78.
Yeah.
Can you resize that, how the other games were, if you know how to do that?
Oh, okay. So just a little bit.
I'll fix it.
Ah, I got it.
Okay. Just leave it somewhere out there.
Ha!
Just leave it there.
Yeah, this is in the Baguio. I can't say it for the life of me. City. This was the world championship match. All right, so I'm getting a lot of responses. Thank you, everyone. What do you think? Okay, thank you, Akash, for giving me a full line, and everyone else who did. Knight f3, gf3. If you go away, this is just cute mate. Knight f3, take, you take, I give the check, and another cute mate, right? Alright, let's go to the next one. I had it ready, I closed it. Okay, there we go. Hopefully it's...
Alright, you just leave it there.
Okay. This is also a game of Petrosian with white in 1979 with Ivkov. I don't believe this was a world championship match, but yeah, you guys are right. The last one, Knight f3, was the pretty cool, huh? Again, nothing will. I don't think any of these moves will ever top that rookie one, but yes, it is white to move. Oh, thank you. I'm getting a lot of rook d4, rook e5s. Great. H3 mates, f3 mates, yeah. Thank you, James Pratt, for the clarification as well. Okay. Let's do one last one. I need another second to find it, cause... okay. Yep, this is also a pretty cool one. This one is white to move. Oh, Arthur, thank you. I believe that there is one way to do it in YouTube, and there is another way to do it in Twitch. Maybe Ben Simon can help with Arthur's question. Okay. Oh, the $ on the YouTube doesn't seem to work. Well, there's another. I do know that there's a nice pool of donations going on the Twitch channel that we're doing for an elementary school, and it would be pretty cool to try and get to our goal. And I made a very regrettable announcement that when we hit 75%, I will sing on stream. So there's that. Tracy's laughing right now. Okay, great. We have some nice moves. Yeah, so Rook A5 is the cool way to win this game. Pretty much. Oh, thank you, Nixon. Pretty much after Rook A5, the idea is when you take, now you have this cool Bishop C5 and Rook A3 coming up. See? Cool, right? So for those of you who it's a little harder to see Rook A5 immediately, it's very easy to try and train yourself into thinking how to make these candidate moves. And the best way to do it is to train yourself to first think about checks all the time. So if you're in this position thinking about checks, the checks you're thinking is Rook B6, Rook C6, Rook A5, and you're like, none of these are really pleasant because between Rook C6 and Rook B6, because you're kind of just letting the king run away. But Rook A5 is interesting because you get the chance to bring the king more in the corner and more exposed, and that's why you are thinking about Rook A5. So that's how you can try to think about Rook A5 and get and train yourself to just see it faster than usual. Just try to think about checks immediately, like whenever you're looking at the position, just to have them in the back of your mind, like, okay, so these are the checks, possible takes, and even if they are kind of weird checks or unreasonable or kind of just you don't want to do it, still think about them, have in the back of your mind. Like Rook A5 might seem a little weird at first, but that's the best way to go about it. And then now finding Bishop C5, you should think about it like, okay, so this check doesn't work, the king just goes away. This check doesn't work because the problem is king can just run away, and in order to have the king stuck and not to make the king run away, this is the square that the king wants to run away from it, so you bring your bishop and take this square away. That's the simplest way to think about it. And you bring it and you keep the king over here. So the pawn is, the pawn is keeping this square, the bishop is keeping these squares, and rook's coming for mates. I do think that the move A4 is also possible, because you still have that chance of mating, and if you take, it's mate, but it's not clean, and hold on, what do you do after rook e7? Never mind, a4 is not possible. Technical glitch. a4 is nice if the opponent takes it, but even if a4 would miraculously work and you could do some check and actually win, you shouldn't really try to do that, because bishop c5 is the cleaner way to win. So that is my recommendation. And alright, I am glad you guys joined us for 2 full hours. That was very nice. I'm very glad to have had 100 plus viewers. I do have one last question. Do you ever find that after chess school you try to put ideas into practice? Yeah, of course. Like when you're trying to do the ideas yourself, it's still kind of hard to try and achieve it. But the more you practice and the more you ask yourself questions. So the big thing that works for me when I'm playing is to ask myself questions like, what does my opponent want? What does, if it's my opponent to move, what am I do? Like, what does he want to do? How can I block it? So just asking myself questions, and that helps me a lot in my games and just solving puzzles and everything. I hope that helps. And yeah, well, tune in for tomorrow's streams and classes. I'll be back for teaching on Thursday. We have a lot of things set up for Thursday. There's ladies' night, there's ladies play people, there is there is a games of the week. Well, there are no games actually being played this week over the board, so can't really do that, but I'll come up with a good game to show you guys. And yeah, so tune in. We have stuff happening in the club every day, either on Twitch channel or YouTube, and thank you again for staying with me for 2 full hours. Have a good rest of your day.